Welcome to episode 4 of Community Closeups, webinar series highlighting the unique and talented individuals in our community. As always, joining me, my good friend and co-host, David Warner. Dave, how have you been? It's been a couple weeks.
Yeah, it has. I'm doing well, busy. I think we're excited for SharePoint conference coming up in a couple weeks, a little over a
Yeah,
couple weeks. So
just 3
I think
weeks
we're
or so.
excited. Yep. Are you
Anything,
excited for it?
anything that you're hoping for? Any announcements or what's on your checklist of things you want to hear?
Uh, I'm okay with anything. They open sourced Parker. As lame as I am, I was excited about that. So now I got an Adobe Illustrator version of Parker that I can go have like sports themed Parker cartoons made out of and stickers. So we'll be excited making some stickers. So I think that'll be fun. A lot of people like to have fun with that in the community. So that'll be
Awesome.
pretty
I would love to hear a little bit more about the audience targeting stuff, and because that's a huge feature that has been on the roadmap for a while, and so I'm hoping they give a lot of insight into that. But
Yeah, it's always exciting anyways because everybody gets to come together and it's focused on SharePoint. It's like a big SharePoint Saturday, right? Which is kind of fun compared to some of the other events. So it's targeted and focused on SharePoint, so we all get to enjoy spending time together and then learning more about SharePoint and collaborating on it. So it's always exciting.
yeah, yeah.
So today we have Alex Terentiev joining us. He's our guest Office Development MVP, good friend of ours as well. Alex, how are you?
Good, good. How are you guys?
Doing good.
Good, hanging in there. It's been a long spring.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
why don't you start out by telling our viewers a little bit about yourself?
Okay, yes. So, as you said, my name is Alex Terentiev. I'm Office Development MVP. I work in SharePoint List company in Los Angeles, California. Originally, I'm of course not from here. I'm from Belarus. Yeah, but I moved to US like almost 5 years ago, and since then I always live in Los Angeles. So I have beautiful wife, two small kids that are not with me right now. They are with parents in Belarus, so I'm kind of at some point missing them. From other point of view, I'm pretty happy. I'm chilling. I'm not nervous. I can sleep. I can work. I can do whatever I want. Yeah. So um, that's kind of it about me.
That must
All
be
right.
really cool. That must be really cool for your kids to kind of get a different culture than Los Angeles.
Yeah, that's true, and it's totally different right there. So they have playgrounds like everywhere. Just you can go out from your home, from your apartment, and run, slide, this kind of stuff. So yeah, they're pretty happy. They don't even want to talk to us. It's just like, hey mom, hey pop, hi, how are you? Go, I need to go. Bye. That's it.
How old are they?
My daughter is almost 5, and my son is 3.5.
Right. So effectively, you said you've been here 5 years, right? United
Yeah,
States and LA is all they know. So going back to see the grandparents in another country is essentially a huge vacation for them.
yes, that's true. Yeah,
Yep.
and I hope that they will learn Russian a little bit more because my daughter is going to start in kindergarten, and it will be only English. And now it's a good time to learn some Russian as well. So to be completely bilingual.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
never hurts to have additional languages. Do you find yourself speaking Russian much? I know LA, we both are from LA, and it's a huge melting pot of all kinds of cultures. Do you find yourself having an opportunity to speak some of the foreign languages you have here in LA?
Yeah, so basically I use Russian at home, and most of my friends are from either Russia or Belarus or Ukraine, so we all speak Russian when we are together. So I use English mostly for work, or like, if I need to fix something in my apartment or buy a car, this kind of stuff.
Right.
So can you Belarus is country that not many people probably know about. They've probably heard about it. Can you just describe what it's like or what the transition was like when you came from there to the US?
Yeah, so Belarus is a former USSR republic, so it's completely different with the US, like in many points of view, like everything is different, honestly. So and especially in comparison with Los Angeles, because not only like culture is different, but the weather is completely different as well. I don't know how I can compare Belarus with the US. Probably it's somewhere near mine state. It's a little bit warmer in Belarus than in mine, but something like that. A lot of forests, a lot of lakes, snow in winter, kind of that. So from cultural perspective, people in US more polite. They like to like ask you how are you, even if they don't care. But in Belarus, it's like everybody is more gray, like, you know, like, who are you? I don't want to speak to you. No small talks, nothing like that. So that's why here in US first years, it was like, I need some beer to talk to people. Right now, it's a bit easier.
It
Today, I
must
haven't,
be
but yeah.
must be that cold weather gets everyone down.
I would say not only cold weather, but a lot of like difficulties. Yeah,
Economically, or
yeah, economically, and I believe like if you look at the history of Belarus and USSR, there were a lot of troubles, a lot of like, let's say, kind of conspiracy. It's always like there are some politicians that governs you, but you don't know what to expect exactly. So I think that it's the reason for this kind of behavior, people behavior as well.
I just find I'm so isolated. I feel like, and I find other cultures so fascinating and like hearing about that. Is there one thing that you miss the most? Like, is there a food that you miss, or um, music, or
Yeah, so probably I can find almost everything here in Los Angeles. Like from food perspective, there are like Russian stores, Ukrainian stores here, where I can find almost everything from Belarus. But the one thing that I'm really missing, maybe two things. The first one is dried squid. It's not like national Belarusian food, but in Belarus you can find them in any store. Right here you should go to either Asian store or to Russian store, and it costs a lot. It's like $5 for 3 ounces or something. So it's really expensive in here in Los Angeles, and it was quite cheap back in Belarus, and it's really nice with beer. So I like that one. And yeah, another one is, I don't know if you are familiar with a drink called kvass. It's like non-alcoholic beer made from bread. So
from the yeast of bread?
sorry, from what?
From the yeast of bread, just like not super alcoholic, or
It's like 1.05% of alcohol, something like that in it. So it's yeah, you can drink it just like Coke, you know. Yeah, and I can find like kvass from Lithuania, Latvia, Russia in here in Los Angeles, but not from Belarus. And I think that from Belarus it's the best. Yeah, so I miss this one as well. And right now, when I dropped off my kids in Belarus, I took a few bottles of kvass with me back.
Dropped off the kids, bring home drinks.
Yes, correct.
have you visited lots of the countries over there? Like, how many countries have you visited? I find people from Europe and Asia travel a lot of the countries that are there, especially Europe because it's kind of small. So
Yes. yeah, of course, I was in Russia, in Ukraine, I was in Poland. It's all like borders.
Yep.
I was in Hungary because my grandfather is from Hungary. I was in France, in Lithuania, in Egypt 5 times. Yeah, so from Europe and this kind of like Africa, Asia, probably that's it.
That's
Cool.
it. So you haven't really been anywhere then.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that Greece is your favorite place to visit.
Oh,
So
yeah, I was in Greece. I forgot about that. How was it? Yeah, correct.
what makes that your favorite place to visit?
First of all, the sea there was like awesome. It was warm, it was quiet enough, so it's great. People there were great as well, really polite, honest, I liked food there as well. Probably the best steak I've ever had, I had not here in the US, but in Greece. And the culture, of course. So I was renting a car in there and traveling. So there are a lot of places to visit in Greece as well. So it's a great country, I believe.
What's your favorite food from there?
So I don't know even the names of the food. We have Greek festivals here in Los Angeles as well. I'm just trying to take everything and try everything. So I'm pretty good with like any Mediterranean food.
Where'd you go? Santorini or all over Greece?
No, it was Peloponnese Peninsula. So, and we were in a small village called Kalanero. It's like good water in translation from Greek. It's really a small village, so it has like, I don't know, not many people, few places to eat, like 2 hotels in there, and yeah, but it was really like like home because it's a village and small place, so it was really nice.
So you said that after a busy day, busy week, you like to work out at the gym. Do you do other sports? Do you play any other sports, or you just
Not
work
actually.
out?
Not actually. So sometimes I can play tennis. I can ride a bicycle or something. When I was like in my 20s, let's say like 21, 22, I was playing soccer as well, but it was long ago, so I was not doing that for many years. I wanted to find some soccer team here in Burbank, but the only one that I found, I'm too young for that. So they were looking for people like 35 plus. So
Eventually,
maybe
goals, right?
yes,
Goals.
goals. Yeah, we'll see.
So you definitely like to eat. You've talked about different food from different locations, right? Does your wife like to cook? You mentioned your favorite food was your wife's tiramisu. So are
Yeah.
you a dessert guy, and do you guys cook together? Do you like to cook, or is it mostly you like to
Yeah,
eat what she cooks for you?
uh, mostly yes. So she cooks probably all the time except of grilling stuff. So if we're grilling something, I usually do that. But yeah, I'm not a dessert guy, but tiramisu is just wonderful. So
That's the exception to the rule for you.
yeah, mostly yes. So yeah, and my wife, she likes to bake, she likes to cook. So on Easter, I'm Orthodox, by the way, not like Catholic, but Orthodox. And on our Easter, we usually bake special cakes for that event. And yeah, my wife likes to cook them so much as well. So it was like last week, and we ate a lot of them.
I was very surprised when you said your favorite food was a dessert because at all the SharePoint Saturday events that we go to, you either pass on dessert and say you don't want it, or you just have like a single bite. So it was very interesting to see that a dessert was your favorite food.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, at some point, if you are in Los Angeles, I will ask my wife to bake it for you, to cook it, and you will understand.
I'll come this weekend. I love tiramisu. We also know, having spent so much time with you, that you also are a wine drinker. You like wine. What's your favorite wine?
Right now, I'm on Cabernet, but it actually depends year to year, I believe. So before that, I was really fond of any red blends from California. Before that, I liked white wines. So it's like, I don't know why, but it's changing.
So you don't like a lot of desserts, but do you drink like ports, which are, you know, considered like a dessert wine, or is that too sweet?
No, too sweet. I like dry wines.
Okay.
So being in California, have you been up to Napa?
I haven't been there yet because of the kids again. It's kind of difficult to go, but we are planning to go to Napa if we have time during this vacation. Yeah,
Kidcation.
yeah, something
I
like
went
that.
there. I went there a couple of years ago, and it was just hot. I mean, it's so warm out there, so wear some sunscreen. But it's a beautiful area.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hot. It's okay. I'm from SoCal, so
That is true.
yeah.
So, did you come to the U.S. for work, or and you've been doing SharePoint for quite a while now? So, was that
Yeah.
a transition that you started doing SharePoint overseas and came over, or you just started when you came over here?
No, I work with SharePoint for more than 10 years, I believe. And back in Belarus, well, it was a tough way here, let's say. So first I was working like full time on different SharePoint projects. Then I changed my job, and I was mostly in front-end development. We were developing products in business analytics. So it was like competitors for Tableau, for TIBCO, this kind of stuff. And during few years, I was mostly in JavaScript development. We were developing our own frameworks, our own components, including like, like different graphic controls, like heat maps, this kind of stuff. But I was doing some freelance stuff for SharePoint all the time, and my boss from here, from Los Angeles, so I started to work for him as a freelancer. And maybe a year after we were like working, he asked me if I want to relocate to US and work full time for him.
So, Alex, with SharePoint conference just around the corner, is there anything you're excited about or you want to hear coming from Microsoft?
I would like to hear something about extensions because all like latest announcements were about SharePoint framework web parts, like integration to Teams, dynamic web parts, etc., but nothing from extensions perspective. And I think that there are a lot of stuff that can be done there as well, like forms, like new edit forms, extensions, navigation, this kind of stuff. So I hope to hear something about this topic during SharePoint conference.
I echo the edit form. That'd be nice.
Yeah. So probably that's my aim.
Yeah. Sorry, it's like extensions got released a while ago, and then they kind of there wasn't much love for them, right? There were some bug fixes and things there, but you're right, it was all focused around web parts, and which kind of makes sense. You're probably going to build more web parts on a intranet basis than you are going to build extensions. But that'd be, yeah, I echo that as well. That'd be really cool to hear, or at least know that they're going to invest in that.
Yeah.
Now, you've done, I think, a number of speaking events. How did you get started doing some of those events? You self-admittedly are pretty shy, and we've gotten to know you well, so you're a little more comfortable with us, I think. But starting out, what kind of encouraged you to get started and stand up in front of a crowd and be willing to share your passion?
Well, first I was trying to share my knowledge through code samples and this kind of stuff, but at some point of time I realized that I can share more using speaking events. And yeah, I was afraid, especially first time, because I'm not a native speaker, and it's a first issue. The second issue, when you start to speak, you always think about what if somebody asks you a question that you don't know how to answer, right? But my first speaking experience was during user groups here in San Diego and in Orange County. And there were like maybe 5, 6 people in there, and 4 of them I know. So I knew. So it was kind of a good start for me to understand that, well, it's not so bad, and maybe my language is not so bad. Everybody can understand me, what I'm talking about. And yeah, after that, it was like challenging myself all the time, but it brings, first of all, it brings pleasure at the end. The second, you really can share what you know about, especially if you have some unique topics or something like that. It's really great to share them. And for me, it's also good practice in English, right? So after I started speaking in the events, my English became much better and more fluent. So yeah.
Cool. That is neat. And you'd mentioned that just don't be afraid for encouraging others. What advice would you have for others specifically, and if they want to get started kind of doing some speaking?
I think that most important thing that if you know the topic, you can speak about that. So if you know something really well and you want to share, don't be afraid. And even if you are nervous during the when you speak to the crowd, don't show that, because most probably nobody knows you and nobody knows how you behave when you are afraid, right? So most people won't even notice that. So don't be afraid to talk to people.
Yeah, I think it's I hear a lot of people say and I know I've done this personally. I had 5 different ways I could have said that better, and the 4th or 5th version in my head sounded way better than the actual way I said it. But your audience, they only know the version that you said, so they don't know the half a dozen other ways that we think in our own head and kind of psych ourselves out. So that's definitely good advice.
Yeah, and you speak on mostly development topics, right? Because you are a dev. What's your favorite thing to talk about? I did see your team's talk in SharePoint Saturday, Utah, and I've seen you speak on some of the developer toolchain stuff for SharePoint Framework. What's your favorite topic that if you could speak at any conference, it'd be your #1 topic to speak about?
So I would say it depends actually, because if the crowd on the conference, well, usually you have a crowd that not advanced, right? So it's like if you look at the level of for example SharePoint Saturday topics, usually it's like 200, let's say. From 100 to 100 perspective, I think that online development toolset session is great. If we talk about like something like 300 or 400, I would love to do a session about, when I did it one time, about Vue.js in SharePoint framework, but it's really complicated. There are a lot of stuff to do in there, like a lot of steps. to proceed, and all the attendees should know about like Node.js, about Yeoman generator, this kind of stuff. So I think that I will never do that again just because I won't be selected. So I'm submitting this session, but most probably from like conference perspective, conference-wise perspective, it's not a good fit for the crowd that will come. So
yeah, not just that too. I think when I've done this too, where you have a really high level, like 300, 400 level talk, and you only have 60 minutes to present on it, right? And so some of the stuff you just have to skip. You have no time to dive into this, and so you just say, well, check on this after my talk and look at the slides, or look at this blog post, because you just really don't have enough time to really dive into some of the real technical stuff. And so you end up being high level anyways on some of those 300 level talks, just because you can't have the conversations or explore some of those topics more deeply.
Yeah. Maybe next step should be like to do 4 hours workshop or something. Yeah, but I'm not so experienced yet for that. So yeah, it's a goal, let's say, as well.
That's a lot of work. Workshops are a lot of work, and I applaud anyone who runs those.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
So do you have any speaking events coming up that you're going to be speaking at?
Yeah, so I was selected for SP TechCon in Boston. It will be at the end of August. So it's the only one that I'm aware of that I was selected. I have also submitted for SharePoint Saturday in New York. So we'll see about that. And at some point of time, we probably will have SharePoint Saturday Los Angeles.
Yes, we will. Yeah. Yeah, I hear. We are trying to figure out a date. There's some challenges with the location and trying to nail down that date. So it will be here. We just had a meeting on it last week. So if you're in the LA area, then stay tuned. It will be coming soon.
Awesome. That's great.
What are you speaking at SharePoint TechCon or SP TechCon Boston? Is it your
developer Closeup?
Yep. So anyone who is around the Boston area or New England or is flying to SP TechCon and wants to learn about SharePoint framework development and how to get started, go to your site.
Not only SharePoint framework, but SharePoint online development, everything around it. Yeah, come by.
Say hi.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so this is a question that I always ask everyone, and it seems to get easier to answer, or I don't know. When you're at a conference and you've given your session, there's always a after-hours event or a SharePoint for SharePoint Saturdays. And so I always ask, what is a good topic if someone was to come up to you and just speak to you? Obviously, we've talked about food. You like wine and beer. You're a SharePoint developer, but is there anything else that, if it was non-work related, non-SharePoint, where we're just relaxing at a SharePoint, that you would just love to talk about?
I can talk a lot about Belarus, of course, about its history, and probably it's a kind of unique topic here in US because there are not a lot of people who can tell you something about Belarus. So if somebody comes and asks, well, I heard that you are from Belarus, what it is like or something like that, yeah, I'll be happy to answer any questions or yeah, explain where geographically it is located, you know. Yeah.
I'm from Vermont originally, and it surprises me how many people don't even know that Vermont is a state or where it is. So I can only imagine the number of people who don't even know where Belarus is. So
yeah, but people in Canada know about Belarus because they like hockey, and probably a lot of people who like hockey, they know about Belarus as well.
And I can't hold back on this, but Canadians also know where Vermont is, and Vlad and Zev are gonna hate me for this, but they know that Vermont exists because Vermont has the best maple syrup, and it's just like that. Vermont has better maple syrup than Canada.
Okay.
You heard it here, right?
You heard it here.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Alex, thanks for coming on the show and sharing some of your experiences in your life with us. And if anyone is in Boston for SB TechCon, don't miss his talk. So.
Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, it's a pleasure, great pleasure to talk to you guys all the time. So see you soon.
Thanks, everybody.